Shall I read?
Yes, do that. When in his doubts.
When his doubts and perplexities are resolved, and he knows that it is the divine which must be his law, he aims again and always at such clear and decisive knowledge as will guide him practically to his source and this rule of his future action. How is the divine to be distinguished among the various states of being which constitute our ordinary experience? What are the great manifestations of its self energy in the world in which he can recognize and realize it by meditation? May he not see even now the divine cosmic form of that which is actually speaking to him through the veil of the human mind and body? And his last questions demand a clear distinction between renunciation of works and this subtler renunciation he is asked to prefer. The actual difference between Purusha and Prakriti, the field and the knower of the field, so important for the practice of desireless action under the drive of the divine will. And finally, a clear statement of the practical operations and results of the three modes of Prakriti, which he is bidden to surmount.
Okay, very interesting question. We will have a look at that. Okay, so now Shri Krishna has explained to him so many things, and he is beginning to understand. When his doubts and perplexities are resolved, because he was thinking that I want a practical guidance in the world. On the contrary, you are giving me all sorts of things about the divine. I want a practical thing. So now he has understood that he has not to go by his morality, but he has to go by the divine command. That he has understood. So practically now he has to give up his fixity in the moral standards. That's what he has understood. When his doubts and perplexities are resolved. So again, Surendra is saying, using the word practically. See that, full importance of practically. I was thinking that I will be able to guide myself, but now I realize that I should not guide myself, I have to be guided. That is understood. Yeah. And there are two renunciations which he describes. Okay, that we'll discuss just now. How is the divine to be distinguished among the various states of being which constitute our ordinary experience? It's very good to say that the divine has to guide you. But how to know what the divine is? He asks him a last question. You are asking me to renounce my moral values. Okay. No, sorry. I have decided to renounce my Kshatriya duties. That's a physical world. In the physical world, I have decided to give up my Kshatriya duties. That is an enunciation that I understood. Now I understand that I have to renounce my fixed ideas in the mind. This is a very big difference that the Sri also insists on, and Sri Krishna also says the difference between sannyasa and tyaga. Tyaga is giving up physically. You give up the physical world, or in Arjuna's case, he is giving up his Kshatriya world. He is failing to do his Kshatriya duty. Physical renunciation. But physical renunciation is not necessary. If you give up the attachment to your ideas and your desires in the mind, it doesn't matter what you do in the physical world. That's exactly the thing. Okay. I'll give you a second example. Someone who was went to Raman Maharshi and told him, "Sir, you know, in Sriramlu is eating meat. He is not vegetarian food." So Raman Maharshi kept quiet. And when that fellow went away, Raman Maharshi said, What a fool! Because the most important thing is the renunciation in the mind. If there is no desire and no attachment, what you do in the physical world doesn't matter at all. Because it doesn't have an effect on your karma. The karma remains pure. Like in the Isha Upanishad very clearly, na karma lipyate nare. If you have given up the inner connection, give up the desire in the mind, it doesn't matter what you do. The real renunciation is the giving up of desire and attachment to ideas. So your own standards. That is what is being said. Okay. May he not see even now the divine cosmic form of that which is actually speaking to him through the veil of the human mind and body? Can't I see the divinity in Sri Krishna? I can see only his body and mind. But can't I see his real divinity? And his and last questions demand a clear distinction between renunciation of works and the subtle renunciation he is asked to prefer. The renunciation is asked to prefer. Give up your standards of morality, give up your desire, give up your attachment to your Kshatriya dharma, which you feel that you cannot, your moral idea that you cannot kill. If you get rid of that idea, your work will become free, free of all karmic law. That's exactly what he's saying. Okay, it's a very important distinction because that's exactly what you can understand also how when mother came, Srendra was still, not that he ever enjoyed it, but he was still having non-veg food because those who were there with him, they were bringing from the market. He was having. But he says in one letter somewhere in a conversation that he never cared for non-veg food. But it is there, so he was having it. When mother came, without the least difficulty, he gave it up because he saw that mother doesn't like. He gave up three things, okay, without the slightest hesitation or problem. One was the meat eating, the other was the liquor that he used to have. Okay, he used to bring liquor because he was in the West. And in the West, it is normal. Instead of drinking water, you drink to keep yourself warm in that cold weather. It's really natural. So he gave that up and he also gave up smoking. Because he felt that mother never asked him to. But he could see that mother is not in favor of it. So he gave it up. That is the gist of this para. Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, give up your ideas, give up your attachment to your own ideas and your own standards. Sarva dharman paritijya mamekam sharanam raja. Depend on me alone. I will do whatever has to be done. So that's exactly the. Then he is making a distinction between Purusha and Prakriti, the field and the knower of the field. This Purusha and Prakriti also, you must have a clear idea. And because it is sometimes quite confusing as to what exactly is it, Purusha and what is that. It's a brief discussion on this Purusha and Prakriti, and then we'll go on to the next paragraph. Purusha is the essential being. Prakriti is a nature. Okay. So, suppose we speak of the sun. Okay. The sun is the Purusha. Prakriti is its power to give light and heat. It's not the same thing. And yet they are same. Okay. There can be no heat and without the sun. There can be no sun without the heat. Now suppose we take a flower. Okay. A flower is the Purusha. What is the Prakriti? its color, its fragrance, its form. Okay, so that is Prakriti, the essence and the nature of the thing. So, in human beings, your soul, your self is the Purusha. Prakriti is your nature, outer nature. And what is your outer nature? The construction of nature of your body, mind, and life. That's your Prakriti. Okay? But if you trace it back to the absolute super, the Satchidananda, Purusha becomes consciousness, Chit, and Prakriti becomes Shakti, it's the power. So this is the, you have to understand at three levels it takes slightly different shades. Okay? So Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't get confused between the Purusha and the Prakriti. You are thinking that Prakriti, your outer nature, is the one that should guide you. No, it is not. It's your Purusha that should guide you. So give up your all the ideas and all that in the Prakriti. So, and the Prakriti has the three gunas. Okay, Prakriti has the three gunas of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And what are Sattva, Rajas, Tamas? They belong to the manifested nature of the divine. The manifested nature of the divine is matter, life, and mind. Matter corresponds to tamas, darkness, stability, no energy, no movement. Life corresponds to your vital, the energy part. Okay, and sattva corresponds to the mind. Corresponds only. The mind can be sattvic, it can be rajasic, it can be also tamasic. These are abstract qualities. Okay. There is also something which I will be mentioning in the Swabhava and Swadharma. In the Swabhava, there is no Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. There isn't. Okay. The Sattva, Rajas, Tamas belongs only to the field of the practical work. That is what is being said here. That's, I think, that much can be said. But obviously, I can't speak much today. So we'll read the next para and see whether it's clear. Okay?
Shall I read?
Yes, please read and I'll summarize it for you. And we'll stop here today.
To such a discipline, the teacher of the Gita gives his divine teaching. He seizes him at a moment of his psychological development by egoistic action when all the mental, moral, emotional values of the ordinary, egoistic, and social life of man have collapsed in a sudden bankruptcy, and he has to lift him up out of his lower life into a higher consciousness, out of the ignorant attachment to action into that which transcends, yet organizes and orders action. R of ego into self, out of life in mind, vitality, and body into that higher nature beyond mind, which is the status of the divine. He has at the same time to give him that for which he asks and for which he is inspired to seek by the guidance within him. A new law of life and action, high above the insufficient rule of the ordinary human exercise, with its endless conflicts and opposition, perplexities and illusory certainties. A higher law by which the soul shall be free from this bondage of works, and yet powerful to act and conquer in the vast liberty of its divine being. For the action must be performed. The world must fulfill its cycles, and the soul of the human being must not turn back in ignorance from the work it is here to do. The whole course of the teaching of the Gita is determined and directed, even in its widest wheelings, towards the fulfillment of three objects.
Of these three objects. This is the summary of the para. So, what are the three objects? Number one, action. Action has to be performed. You can't say I won't act. Yeah, no, I'm just doing the summary of the three objectives, okay? And then we'll stop. Yes, I agree.
First, action cannot be renounced, like the ascetic is doing.
You have to continue action in the world. The world must fulfill its cycles. Whatever is intended in the evolution of the world, it has to do. Third, the soul of man must escape ignorance and complete his work in the world. Is the gist of what the Gita is saying. I'm repeating. Action cannot be disposed of. You have to continue to act in the physical world. Number two, the world has an evolution and that must fulfill its cycles. And man's action is a part of that evolution. It has to continue. The ascetic is wrong when he says, I won't act in the world. And Arjuna is wrong when he says, I won't do my allotted work. This soul of the third one, the soul of man must escape from ignorance, complete his work in the world, so that he participates in the divine. These are the three things that the Gita is saying. Don't give up action in the physical world, because the world has got a purpose and it has to fulfill what it has to do. And man can help by realizing his soul, getting rid of his identification with body, mind, life, and realizing his soul and working from a higher level of consciousness. This is the gist of what he's saying. And now the next chapter is the core of the teaching. Okay. Merci everybody.
Au revoir, Rangada. Merci. Bonne journée.